directional view. So a number of things are suggesting that the dollar yen still may be going higher. Now, here's the kicker. The predicted RSI is hitting well into the overbought territory, and that pretty much stopped the move. So the predicted RSI from Vantage Point, using these multiple indicators, not just one simple indicator, not just one crossover, is a clear indication that the dollar yen, if it is actually going to, the trend is going to reverse higher, then what's likely going to happen is it's going to pull back first. And you know, we can, if you look at this going over a period of time, you can see that whenever it's hit these levels, and then this coincides pretty much with the chart, that it's actually sold off or it's moved higher. So whenever it hits the oversold level, it starts to move higher. Whenever it hits the overbought territory, based on this predicted RSI, it tends to move lower. So, and this is something that's actually consistently happening. So this, again, it's a good thing to look at. Now, looking at the dollar yen today, again, hopefully there isn't, again, I apologize if there's a bit of a delay here. So what we're looking at is a number of different things here. We can see that the range today, 90.55, 91.29. So when we've got, this is the range that's happened today, let's actually have a look at this and see what the daily report from Vantage Point is suggesting. Now the daily report, again, is just that, a daily report. So we have 91.54, 90.74. Predicted differences are all turning positive. However, again, we have the wild card being the US dollar index, the equities, all of these things. So it's very important to look at a number of different things. Now, again, with the US dollar on quite a tear today, another thing I want to bring to everybody's attention is gold. Now, looking at my recommended trade for today, gold did come up as one of my trades. Now, we can look at the gold contracts here by way of CFDs. This is the actual market price of gold right now, which is 1115.75, or we'll say 1116. So this was recommended as a buy position as one of my trades for today, as in the 1107 area, 1108 area, I believe I suggested to get in there. Now with yesterday we had the FOMC. Gold closed around 1119, and by 7 or 8 o'clock last night, gold was down $19. Now again, this is just the market noise that you want to be careful of, because this market noise is telling us, this is FOMC is saying this, you know, the reality is, by looking at the technical analysis, we were able to surmise that this is going to go higher, despite that excessive pullback yesterday. So when we're looking at the gold contracts and how it relates to Forex, it's very important, because in the past, the commodity correlation to the US dollar index and to the other crude oil and things of that nature has actually been very high. So looking at this, we can see in the short term, we actually had the crossover on gold from Vantage Point probably, you know, about a week ago or longer. Medium term crossover from Vantage Point is crossed over to the upside, and the long term crossover, I believe, is also going to show us the same thing. It does. So in short, everything is pointing that gold is likely to move higher. So again, we've suffered a fairly significant pullback. Again, hopefully, I apologize if there's a delay. Everybody can see this. Gold is now sitting at $1,119. So we've made a very strong move on gold, despite the market noise that's taken place. And it's, you know, a lot of people were in there selling gold, saying the US dollar is going to move higher. But the reality is right now that gold and the US dollar are moving higher together. So if we look at the Vantage Point software, and again, what we're going to do is do a little bit of a split screen here, because I think it's worthy of a look. Because again, there is a very high correlation. So you see the US dollar index and gold. Primarily, one has been moving against the other one, but there is a period of time when they're actually moving higher together. The gold contract moved higher, gold was still moving lower, but the US dollar and gold are absolutely capable of moving higher at the same time. So, and if we look at from like about a year ago, Vantage Point actually predicted the same time of year last year, predicted a rise in gold and also predicted a rise in the US dollar index. And that lasted to approximately mid-April. So again, these markets are very repetitive. So we have to look at all these past price patterns. Very, very important that we do that. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go in, have a look at a few other currencies here this morning so everybody can see. We've got the Australia US dollar. We've got a crossover here that's forming. Again, we've got 89.03, 88.93, and 89.59 are our three major support levels. Now, to go in and have a look and see what Australia US is doing today, we can see that we've hit 89.37 as the low, 89.93 is the high. We're currently trading at 89.87, 89.90. So what does this mean? How are we going to get this set up for a trade here? Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go in, we're going to add some indicators to see, is there the potential for a trade here? So, it's been moving up somewhat aggressively. So we're going to apply a couple of indicators to see in today's trade what is the likely direction. So predicted TSI coming out of heavily oversold territory suggests one thing. However, the predicted RSI from Vantage Point has hit the overbought levels. So the reality is this thing is likely to head lower, so we could sell into strength because we still don't have this confirming indicator here from Vantage Point. Vantage Point, we need that triple EMA crossover to make its move to confirm a trend reversal. The long-term crossover, the short-term, medium-term crossover, they've all done that. So again, we have to take this into consideration that the possibility of Australia US could be moving higher, but how much further can it really go is left to be seen. Now, at Australia US, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on a triple EMA crossover so everybody can see this. Now, we're going to have a look at what the highest correlation that this has. Now, predominantly, Australia has a very high correlation to metals. So again, we're looking at the gold contracts. If gold is moving higher, we can see here that it's almost identical the way that this is setting up. So if gold contracts continue to make this move higher, the reality is Australia US is also likely to move higher. So again, using these, one of the key markets in this particular case, Australia has a very high correlation, again, to the gold and metal contracts. So it's important that we look at that when going into trading. Now, another thing we want to have a look at today, we want to have a look at equities. This is the S&P 500. We can see here it's at 1098. This was a recommended sell position the other day. This actually did well. It went down into this 1093, 1094 area. So the correlation to the equity markets in the US dollar is also very, very high. So we have to take this into consideration also. What's the likelihood of the equities moving higher? So in this particular case, we're going to, again, we're going to look back at the gold contracts and